Let's begin with our top focus on the suspension of the AstraZeneca vaccine in certain parts of Europe. The World Health Organization and the European drug regulator have now urged countries not to panic, as several of them have halted the use of AstraZeneca's COVID-19 vaccine. Now, the WHO appealed to countries not to suspend vaccinations against a disease that has killed more than 2.7 million people worldwide. The WHO says there was no evidence that the incidents are caused by the AstraZeneca vaccine. It says that an advisory committee meeting on AstraZeneca would be held on Tuesday.
Since our last press conference on Friday, several more countries have suspended the use of AstraZeneca vaccines as a precautionary measure after reports of blood clots in people who had received the vaccine from 2 batches produced in Europe. This does not necessarily mean these events are linked to vaccination, but it's routine practice to investigate them. And it shows that the surveillance system works and that effective controls are in place.
The top WHO scientists reiterated that there have been no documented deaths linked to COVID-19 vaccines.
People do get thromboembolic events, pulmonary embolisms, and people die on every day. So the question really is the linkage with the vaccine, and this is why we need to look at all of the data. The experts are looking at the data, and so far we do not find an association between these events and the vaccine, because the rates at which these events have occurred in the vaccinated group are, in fact, less than what you would expect in the general population at the same time.
The EU's EMA medicines regulator said it would meet on Thursday to analyze the situation and reaffirmed its view that the benefits of the AstraZeneca jab far outweigh the risks. The EMA has also said there was no indication that the events were caused by the vaccination and that the number of reported blood clots was no higher than seen in the general population. The drug regulator has said that a total of 30 cases of blood clotting had been reported among close to 5 million people vaccinated with the AstraZeneca shot in Europe. And so let's quickly go across to WION's correspondent Lucy Huff, who's joining us live from Brussels with more details. Lucy, thank you for joining our newscast today. Now, the WHO and the European drug regulator have spoken out at a time when France, Germany, Spain and Italy, 4 of the largest European countries, are the latest to suspend the vaccines. At the same time, experts are stressing that the suspension of this vaccine, when cases are surging across Europe, comes at a price. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, the timing of this was pretty extraordinary. At the same time that we had Europe's most populous countries, their largest economies, that being Germany, France and Italy, latterly joined by Spain in also suspending the use of this Oxford AstraZeneca jab, while possible severe side effects are investigated. Although, as you say, we then had a simultaneous statement from the EU's health regulator, the European Medicines Agency, saying that as far as they were concerned and as far as the scientific evidence available to them suggested, the benefits of this jab in terms of mitigating the impact of COVID-19 in terms of hospitalizations and deaths far outweighed the risks associated with a small number of incidents of blood clotting. Now, this was a sort of chain of events that began early last week when Austria suspended the use of the Oxford AstraZeneca jab after 2 reports of blood clots, severe case of blood clotting, followed by Denmark, which went a step further, which completely suspended the rollout instead of just suspending the rollout of a particular batch for a 14-day period, while indeed these links were investigated.
Right.
Over the weekend, we had other countries such as the Netherlands, Ireland followed, and now these 3 major economies. This is despite the advice of the European Medicines Agency, which says that there is no known link between the use of the AstraZeneca jab and incidents of blood clotting or bleeding. And of course, we've had the comments of the WHO, which is urging countries not to suspend their vaccine rollouts.
Right. Since you mentioned what the WHO has to say about no possible link between vaccination and blood clots, regulators, of course, have tried to reassure the public about the safety of the Astra shot. How has the suspension impacted the vaccine rollout in various regions of Europe now?
Well, yeah, the WHO was pretty clear on this yesterday. We had a statement from its Director General, Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, saying that this was a virus that had affected some 2.7 million people who'd lost their lives to this, with the virus spreading around the world at a huge pace, and that it was important that countries did not suspend their vaccine rollouts because of a small, limited, isolated number of blood clotting cases. So the message was clear on that. We will have a meeting of the WHO today who will be, I think, looking to reassure people about the safety of the Oxford AstraZeneca jab. In terms of the EU's vaccine rollout, I mean, it has been moving at a slow pace. It has been beset with problems. Initially of delivery shortages, of supply shortages because of manufacturing problems from all three vaccines authorised for use. We then had that decision to restrict the Oxford AstraZeneca jab in the over 65 age group amid fears of its safety from European countries because of a lack of data in the vaccine's clinical trials. But that was a decision that was quite quickly reversed by countries such as Germany and France. All of these things have done nothing to improve confidence in the AstraZeneca jab amongst European citizens, and we are hearing reports that the jab is now being turned down by people in those countries who are being offered the vaccine. So it's a bit of a perfect storm, and certainly this latest kind of twist in the tail, the number of European countries who've now temporarily suspended the jab will do nothing to improve public confidence and will, of course, further hold up the EU's vaccine rollout.
Lucy, in its defence, AstraZeneca has said that its safety review of inoculated people has shown no evidence of increased risk of blood clots. Having said that, the WHO is also having its advisory committee meeting today. The EMA is supposed to meet on Thursday. How much will these meets help in addressing the public and governmental paranoia?
Well, it may help the situation, but what we're getting is a case of very mixed messaging. I mean, as I say, on the one hand, you had a number of countries and you know, Europe's biggest economies, its most populous countries, France and Germany amongst them, announcing that they were suspending the vaccine while indeed these checks and investigations were carried out. Almost within the hour, you had a statement from the EU's health regulator saying that as far as it was concerned, the benefits of the vaccine outweighed the risk, that there was no proven link between incidents of thrombosis, of blood clotting in connection with those who've recently received the jab. And that was the message that was reiterated by AstraZeneca as well, who of course carried out a widespread trial of thousands of people and said there was no known link. So it will be interesting to see what the message from the WHO is after it meets later on today. And there will, of course, then be further checks announced by the European Medicines Agency. But in the case of France, for example, this is very much a temporary suspension while it waits for more information from the European Medicines Agency. So if indeed the EMA comes out on Thursday saying we are sure this vaccine is safe, then we may see some countries reverse these decisions. But by that point, the damage to public confidence in the vaccine may be too late to reverse.
But still, I think a lot can be done once the EMA and the WHO meet and issue their respective statements. Having said that, thank you so much, Lucy, for bringing in your precious inputs. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.